Live.
All right. So this is the Personnel Commission meeting. It's our regular meeting and it is Tuesday, May 26, 2020. All of our commissioners are present, but we are in a session and I will ask our director to do roll call, please.
Roll call. Chair.
Present.
Commissioner.
Marty, your sound went off.
Share.
Here, Marty, your sound is kind of going on and off.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're going to have to deal with this. Everybody is. Martha Giacomini. Here. All are present.
Okay, thank you. A Pledge of Allegiance. Does somebody have a flag right there nearby?
So we could do the flag salute.
Okay, so Marty, I'll let you do that.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Marty, and thank you for the flag.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay, so commissioners, number 4 on our agenda is approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the agenda for this meeting.
And do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I think it passed.
Yes.
Okay. Number 5 is our organization updates. And this is an opportunity for the commission, the district administration, or CSEA, a representative of CSEA anyway, to make a brief announcement, a report on his or her own activities, or to ask questions.
Lisa just joined us, so I'm not sure if she has an update or not. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
That's
Hi.
Update, what, just like a brief report. We are, everybody's still sheltering in place, and we took a vote in the executive board, and we started offering we always have offered 2 senior scholarships to members within the district, their kids that are going off to college. This year we offered 4, so we awarded 4 because we had 4 applicants.
Nice.
We felt like that, during this time, any little bit is going to help, and so we awarded all 4 that applied for this year, the seniors, for the scholarships. So I sent that off this morning to Heather McQuarrie. They're going to do a virtual awards ceremony, so the admin are just going to read it instead of us going and presenting like we used to. What else is going on? We are, our district is in a lot better, we're in a lot better place than other districts around the state of California as far as during this COVID, because we had such a high reserve, thanks to Penny pushing and the board members for agreeing to a 6% over the 3% required by Ed Code. So that enabled us to not have to lay people off. So we're very grateful for that. And we've been doing well. I've had, handful of calls, people freaking out, but the district, CSEA and UTA have worked really well together. We have a good relationship. And I think that everyone has done amazing during this time. So we are doing great. I don't really have much else to report. That's all we got right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lisa. Nice to see you.
You too.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. So number 6 on our agenda is our community input. And this is where members of the audience can speak to an issue that isn't on our agenda tonight. And I don't know, because of the way we're doing the meeting, public comment slips were to be sent in if there was any comments.
Lori, did you receive any comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll move on. Okay, so this point in our meeting is our consent agenda, and I will need a motion and a second to approve that. I think that was Martha making a
That
motion.
was
Do I have a
Martha making
second?
a motion. Okay, I second. I trust Martha's motion. Martha, we can't hear you too well, but we'll deal with it.
So I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so number 8 is our reports. And our first report is by our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Nicole.
Hi. So yes, as we've heard through various means, there are budget cuts coming toward coming to schools. For UKI Unified, the governor's proposed budget, the cuts would come to about a little over $6 million. And we've been looking at how to address this, the problems that decreased funding will bring. And Steve has done a really good job putting together some ideas on things that we can do with one-time money this year. And as Lisa pointed out, the reserve that the board had come to over the last couple of years is immensely helpful, but there are some other one-time funds that are going to make it so for this next year, we can put off doing some long-term cuts. There are some positions that we will be not filling, starting with some management positions. And so we're looking at every position very carefully to see if through attrition, we may realize some cuts or savings by not filling positions. So every position that comes open, we're looking at very closely before we make a decision to post or fill. And there are several that we have posted and are not filling at this point in time. To contribute to the challenges of the budget, we also have the uncertainty of what next school year will look like. That's something all school districts are trying to contend with right now. It's very difficult to plan when you don't know what you're planning for and you have less money to use to plan for whatever that may be. So we're just trying to be very cautious and to proceed slowly. We have we come up with some ideas on how reopening may look. We have several different scenarios of what that may look like. Right now, we've been working on that with leadership, but we'll be having a joint committee with UTA and CSCA members that will be contributing to those ideas or giving us new ideas altogether. We wanted to have kind of a framework of some ideas though before we just went out there and started brainstorming, because there are some guidelines that we think that we may have to abide by, but we're still trying to figure that out. So that's one of the big things that we're working on right now is what next year will look like, both financially and in just the reopening of the school. For summer, we have very few extra summer hires. Normally we have a lot of people doing summer school and extra cleaning. That includes food service, transportation, paraprofessionals, clerical staff. We are pared back to having 5 teachers and 5 paraprofessionals. That's pretty much it for our extra hire right now. And we haven't communicated with all the paraprofessionals. We haven't made that selection yet, but we're working to do that. We postponed making decisions about summer school because we weren't sure what summer school might look like. And we're actually not doing summer school. Technically, we're doing extended school year, which is only special ed, and it's being done remotely. So we usually have, I don't know, at least double, I would say probably more like triple the number of special ed students participating in extended school year. But knowing that it was remote, many teachers or many parents opted not to continue with extended school year in the remote learning model, which is understandable because there is something kind of tiring about being in a remote learning situation all day. So I think that kind of wraps up my report.
Martha, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm just on audio now, so I'm just starting to hear what's going on. So no, I'm not at this point.
Okay, and what about you, Susan?
Well, a little bit off topic, but Nicole, I was very distressed by that letter to the editor from some of the board members. That was in yesterday's or Sunday's paper. Did you see that?
I'm aware of it. I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, yeah, it just, you know, I know it came from a big place of caring and concern, but it painted a pretty bleak picture. It wasn't, obviously I'm not, and the letter isn't pointing a finger at anyone, but it pretty much said that it's just the online learning is unworkable for a lot of students. And something I hadn't realized that because attendance isn't being taken, that they're guessing that a lot of kids, high school kids, haven't been to any online classes since the pandemic started. So their concern was that we're losing a lot of kids in this process. And it's, you know, I mean, again, I'm not faulting anyone, but I'm just concerned that for schools all over the country, what's going to happen to these kids?
Who wrote the letter?
It was 4 members of the Board of Trustees. And
Our Board of Trustees?
our Board of
By
Trustees.
Unified?
Yeah, there were Anne, Zoe, Bea Arkin, and Megan. Those 4. They were more asking the state for some ideas. They weren't looking towards, I mean, they are the district, but you know, I think their point was like, we're not getting any great solutions from the state right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very concerning and depressing.
Yeah, this is a really challenging time for schools and for students. There are many that are very sad to be at home all the time. It's hard for adults, but for kids, it's really hard. And when you think about learning to read, and those little ones at home trying to learn to read, that may have challenges learning to read with professionals who are trained in reading instruction. And those professionals are still trying their best to engage with students, but it's not the same. Yeah. It's just not the same.
Nicole, do we have a date for school opening?
Are you talking about the first day of school next year?
Yeah.
I don't remember what this academic calendar is. We start about a week earlier than we normally do.
It's the same, whatever the date was on the calendar.
Yeah, that's not changed. If that's going to change, that has to be negotiated.
Is there any, has the board talked about kind of a time frame of when they're going to let the public and parents know how school is going to work? And you guys have some kind of goal for that?
Well, we have lots of goals, but we need the state, we need guidelines from public health and from the state before we can really move forward. We're not the ones calling the shots on a lot of things. And true. So we have ideas. Yeah, so we don't really have a date. We are imploring anyone who will listen to give guidelines early and make them very clear and also they need to be something that can be applied in actual schools. A lot of what has been discussed is very impractical in schools and makes it so that pretty much it's pretty much learning. And we'd like to have our teachers and our staff has done a great job with remote learning, but like I said, it's not the same. And we would very much prefer to either, if we can't be in school as we normally would, to be some hybrid of in schools on certain days, or just, there are so many different ways of looking at that, but having some face-to-face time so that students can remain more engaged and teachers can really have a better gauge of how students are doing. So we're really hoping that there's some face-to-face interactions, but the guidelines that have come forth, not guidelines, ideas that are being floated around there, many of them are not at all practical and couldn't be implemented in schools. So we're hoping for something.
So if we get asked those kind of questions, then it's safe to say that the school district can't really move forward until public health and the state Department of Education, the governor, whomever, gives the guidelines.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so the next part of our agenda would be our director, Marty's report.
You have in front of you the personnel items that have been approved by the board in the last meeting, and as well as the May PC office happenings. Unfortunately, with all of this, we kind of have come to a standstill as far as filling vacancies goes, but we are still recruiting, but we're making it very clear that we're recruiting for the 2021 school year. We were able to finally get most, if not all, of our pre-employment forms available online or electronically, so we can either email them the forms or they can go to a link and get them off of our PC web page. I would like to reiterate Lisa's comments as well as Nicole's comments about what an amazing job Ukiah Unified is doing in very difficult and challenging times. As I said in my report, I ended up having to go to the ER because I had wrenched my knee, and I just felt so bad for this poor nurse because she was having such a difficulty in another district. She just felt like her stepson was falling through the cracks and was having a very difficult time communicating with the staff. And so I just, again, want to say what an amazing job Ukiah has been doing. Meal distributions, there's always going to be the few that are not satisfied, but majority of people are just so gracious, and to watch that process is just phenomenal. In the May report, there's also some information about if we should decide to continue with our billboard, what that may look like. However, later in the agenda, we're going to talk about our budget. And as you are well aware, there are some major cuts coming. And so that was a bit of a concern, a lot of going back and forth as to how to best implement and support the district in these very challenging times. And that is about it.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Marty?
Marty, I did click on the link that you included to the pre-employment forms, and they were very good, very clear, concise, easy to follow.
Thank you.
And the blast off poster is adorable.
Doug Schaub has just done a phenomenal job, and I just get so excited working with him because I have a vision in my head of what I need for various advertising and promotions that we do, and he just has this incredible knack of taking what's in my brain and putting it on paper. So I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to work with him.
Are those actual employees, the little figures at the windows of the bus?
Yeah.
Are.
Very cute.
Yeah, it's very, very
Yeah.
exciting.
That's a pretty neat, nifty thing that was put together.
We just have so much fun with it. So I'm hoping we can make it happen, because I know that the bus drivers are really excited about the opportunity and to continue. I'm just really hoping that we can find a way to make it happen. But we'll move forward and do what we can now or maybe later, but we'll figure it out. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's so many questions when you look at each part of the day that school is involved, even starting with the bus drivers. It's overwhelming, so many questions, and what, how, and where, and how is this going to happen for these children.
Yeah.
Very difficult to think about sometimes.
Yes,
It's not
just
the
like-
norm, that's for sure.
Like the rest of the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
there's-
not the norm.
There's no perfect solution, for sure.
Yeah, yes, we'll find a way.
So
Yes.
before
Go
we
ahead.
move on to, if you're ready to move on, the budget proposal, Steve Breckman is here. He had some information to share with you on the budget, and I don't know if you want to do it during the public hearing or wait until we have the discussion item. But he is available and ready whenever you are.
Well, I think because he's available, and if we have him give his report, then he can sign off if he'd like. Does that
I'm here
sound
for I'm here
good?
for the duration, so whenever you're ready is fine.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do it.
Okay.
If you're ready, we're ready.
Sure. So if you like, I can give you kind of a brief budget update like we took the board through last week. Nicole already alluded to the big dollar cut we're looking at, but I can give you a little more detail. I'll need to be able to share my screen. Ian, if you can make that happen. I'll have to find the right one. Okay, so can everybody see a little spreadsheet on their screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, has that a little easier to read? Okay.
Thank you.
So the first thing we thought when we found out we were losing all this money for next year is, okay, how much do we really have to make up? And so first we started looking at how are we going to finish 2019-20? Because obviously anything we can save now helps us next year. And we believe through those first set of 4 lines that we can probably finish the year about $900,000 better than we had currently budgeted through a combination of some revenue increases and some expense decreases. So that already makes us a little bit better for 2020, 2021. Then you see in the red rows there, lines 5 through 10, you see what's happening to our budget for 2020, 2021. Right off the top, our local control funding formula is being reduced by an estimated $6.4 million. So out of an $80 million general fund, 6.4 million off the top is a pretty painful cut. We have some placeholders in there because there's still a lot of information we don't know about next year. We don't know if the federal categorical programs like Title I, Title II, Title III are going to get reduced or not. We've had no guidance from anyone yet. We know that the governor's proposal that he made last week is just a proposal. Until the legislature acts on it and it approves the budget by June 15th, things could still change. So we have a placeholder here just in case the legislature comes back and says, no, we want you to cut program Y by a bunch of money. So we still have some things that could hurt us. Line 8, adult ed funding was reduced. We're working with Christy to make sure the adult ed program still lives within its means. It's really late notice to find out in May that your money's being cut for your fiscal year that starts July 1st, but she's working to see what she can do to keep that going. And the same thing with preschools. Preschools are being reduced both in terms of the number of seats that'll be available and then the per student funding too. So again, we're assuming for now the preschool can adjust and adapt, but it's possible there'll have to be a general fund contribution. So moving on to rows 11 through 23 is some other things we can use to help us get through this first year, to kind of weather the storm. We think in our supplemental and concentration grant funds that are being reduced by almost 1.4 million, we think we can cut at least $750,000 out of expenses that were projected. There's a special board meeting tomorrow night at 5 to talk about that process. One small piece of good news the state did give us is that they're going to help offset our STRS and PERS costs for 2020-21, just as they did this year. So we believe that'll save the district upwards of $500,000 from what we had budgeted for next year. Our workers' comp rate is going down finally for 2021, which is a great thing. Kimberly Larkin has been working really hard to train our employees, take care of our employees, encourage them to get back to work as soon as they're healthy. And so our workers' comp rate is coming down. It's still crazy high at 5.4%, but it's better than 5.8%. So from there, there's some other things. We can reduce our contribution to maintenance. We'll still be contributing $2.5 million to maintenance. We can just reduce it by like $77,000. We're going to suspend our textbook adoption contribution for next year. We're going to borrow the textbook adoption monies that are sitting on the books to help us get through the storm. We're going to suspend the deferred maintenance contribution, borrow those deferred maintenance monies that are left, and borrow the one-time facilities monies that are sitting there. So obviously we're taking some money away from facilities maintenance. Happily, with the bond measure did pass for March. And so we do have bond money that we can use to kind of help us get through that storm as well. Obviously, we'd like to get this money restored as soon as we can, but we can rely on bond funds in the short term as we start undergoing our major renovation projects. From there, lines 20 through 22 are just some small dollar changes we can make that'll help us as well. So all told, we think we can cut expenses by almost over $6.2 million for next year, which almost covers that reduction in revenue of 6.3 million. So we think in the short term, we can weather this okay. Part of the reason we chose to go this approach is because there are so many things that could still happen that could still change our budget dramatically. If the federal government decides to supplement school funding like they're being asked to do through the HEROES Act, most of these reductions would go away instantly. So we didn't want to be in a position of having to lay off a bunch of people and reduce a bunch of positions when 10 days from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, we could get that money back and find out we didn't have to do those things. Plus, there's still so much we don't know that we didn't want to make any dramatic reductions. We couldn't really make them fast enough given such short notice. And because there are so many variables that could change things in a positive way, we did not want to just make cuts at random rather than trying to be strategic and thoughtful. So this will let us do that over the next several months. So even if the worst case scenario that's been presented goes forward, we can respond intelligently and strategically rather than, like I said, a knee-jerk reaction. So with that, do you have any questions?
So I do. And I did something to my screen, so all I could see is myself. I don't know how to get back to seeing all of you.
You're probably on, maybe you're on speaker view.
Yes.
To the right hand corner, go up to your, put your cursor up on the right hand corner and there should be a grid view. Click on that grid view. It'll look like 4 of those squares with your mouse. Do you see it?
Meeting setting, chat, minimize meeting.
Speaker view, settings, or an exit full screen if you have full screen open. There should be a grid view up there.
No, I don't have a mouse. I have a iPad.
Touch screen. Oh, you have an iPad.
Okay. Well, can you guys see me? You could hear
Yeah,
me,
we
right?
can get very close.
Oh God. Okay, you can see me. Oh my God. All right, let's try this again. I'm sorry. Sign up. Now I just have little me and nothing else.
Oh.
It says start a meeting.
Well, you know what we all look like.
Okay, sign up. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, so my question is this. We had with the reserve is 9%. Is that right? The board has made a 9% reserve.
Correct. At second interim, we projected to be a little bit lower than that back in March, but yes, that is the board mandated reserve level.
Okay, and then, so the reserve's not gonna go back down to the 3 that's required yet, right?
No, it would not. We'd still be over 6% at the end of next year. I think we'd be about 7.5 at the end of next year, based on our very preliminary assumptions. But to make 21, 22 work, we'd have to make, again, assuming everything that we know today is how it actually plays out, we would have to make very dramatic reductions for 2021, 22.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think you guys have done a stellar job of looking at ways to do this temporarily, without making the cuts you are proposing to make, and not cutting employees, or so far, really the programs. So I thank you for that. I don't know if the other commissioners have any comments or questions.
I just have a question for Steve about, you mentioned the workers' comp premiums going down a little bit. Will the premiums be affected by the fact that a lot of employees aren't working in person? So wouldn't that keep their injuries way down if they're not coming to work?
Yes, let's hope so. But on the flip side, our food service workers especially are working very, very hard to serve these 50,000 plus meals we're doing every week. And so I could argue on the flip side, there's perhaps an increased chance of injury there, although they're trying to be very smart. And our maintenance and custodial teams are providing a lot of extra support to help with that. We're also not clear how possibly the virus could impact workers' comp claims over time. So that's still an uncertainty as well. But overall, in terms of workers' comp, my understanding is that 2016-17 was a very bad claims year for the district. And typically our claims are based on a 4 or 5 year rolling average. So once that year rolls off, our rate should drop down considerably as well. So now we just have to keep everybody healthy going forward.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
It sounds very positive at this point that, this money is available to, like you said, keep everybody intact with the district for now, which is so important.
Yeah, I think most of us on this call have been through layoffs in school districts before, and that toll can't even be measured in the people, right? It's the district never forgets that. Memory stays in the institution. Some of those people never come back to schools. It's just not where we want to be if we can avoid it.
Sure.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So this is where I guess we're gonna, it says it's time for 4:30. What time is it? 4:30. So I think I will open the public hearing. Meeting is now open, and this is to discuss and adopt our budget for next year. Marty, would you like to begin?
Certainly. Lori, could you check real quick just to make sure we haven't gotten any last minute public comments? I doubt it, but.
If I sign out and come back into the meeting, will that interrupt anything? I mean, I know it'll take a second or two, but.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna see how to get out of here.
Gosh, we have 25 questions.
Wow.
I'm kidding. There's none.
Thank you.
Oh.
I don't think we ever have we?
We have questions?
Oh, I was just teasing.
Oh,
I'm not sure how to make my little thing here bigger now, darn.
yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't even get out.
I found it.
Okay, so we have nothing from the public, correct?
That's correct.
So you
Okay.
can close the,
So at this point, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to our director and the Personnel Commission for discussion and approval. The meeting is closed.
So am I out of here then?
no. So I'm going to share with you my screen, and on that, let's see. So we have the 2017-18 actuals, the 18-19 actuals, our current revised budget, as well as what we project our actuals will be at the end of this year. And an important note is underneath that, the bottom of that column where it has 290,000 is what we anticipate our actuals will be, which means that we will be returning $14,678 to the district's general fund, barring any last minute major expenses, which I don't foresee. And then in the next column, I have the 2021 proposed budget that was based on the information that we had in January, where we were getting a 2.31% COLA. And then there are two other columns. The green column is kind of a cost neutral, meaning that while salaries and benefits have gone up, those expenses have gone up. We did do some elimination or moving around of various funds in the operations end of it to get that into being cost neutral, meaning the same as what we spent or were approved to spend this last year. And then the yellow is with a 2% reduction, just trying to look at various options. None of this obviously is in stone. So if you guys want us to look at changing various amounts and various pots of money, just let me know.
So Marty, would you like to share with the other commissioners some of the places you've made the cuts?
Absolutely. So looking at looking at the green one, because it stands out and it's cost neutral. We looked at reducing supplies just because we just didn't, hold on one moment. I got to kind of increase this a little bit. We looked at reducing supplies because historically we haven't used as much as we had budgeted for. Let's see here. Another area that we looked at reducing was travel and conferences. Obviously, in a year of budget reductions, it's really frowned upon. To send employees off to different conferences and whatnot. So we felt like that could be reduced significantly, if not, altogether, for one or however long it takes us to get out of this situation that we find ourselves in. We did increase, I do recommend increasing the interfund slightly. We have talked about that in the past with if we are finally allowed to do our classified recognitions, which I'm still researching new and different ways to make that happen. But I anticipate, we're going to be recognizing our classified staff. And so just making sure that we have enough funds to work with to make it not over the top, but at least cover everybody. The other area that we talked about increasing was the professional consulting. And that in part is due to the fees that we will incur with the fingerprinting service. Still working on those contracts and getting that in place. but it's our intent to be able to fingerprint employees right there at the district office, saving our potential employees from that expense, as well as hopefully speeding up the process. The other area that I looked at possibly reducing is advertising. You know, we've kind of talked about the MTA and the Lake Transit and some of the other areas that we've advertised in the past, whether it's the Ukiah Daily Journal. Other big expenses are when we have to advertise in journals that cater to professional and so management type positions. I don't foresee, given what the information that Steve and Nicole shared, that we will be replacing, hopefully, a lot. We won't be replacing a lot of administrators, so that can reduce that expense as well. By advertising in CASBO and AXA, there's some additional costs involved, and so hopefully we'll be able to reduce those this year. And that is about it. So as you can see, in order to keep our budget at a zero increase, we had to reduce supplies by almost 20% to make up that 2 or 3% in increase in salaries and benefits that are not in our control.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to suggestions. If you guys want to see cuts or more cuts in some areas and less cuts in other areas, I'm happy to make that so.
So Marty, I just have a few questions. So looking at the biggest budget items, which you did cover, travel, conference training, and advertisement. I appreciate that you said travel and going to conferences is frowned on during a budget crisis. But I'm also wondering, since it seems like you needed more training, or you really were excited about training because you were new in the job. And now that you're so polished and experienced, in addition to the budget, I'm wondering if even that amount, the 11,000 or the 6,750, that might even be lower if you don't really need as much training and conferencing.
We can, and just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that we have to spend it.
Right.
I'm a little apprehensive to cut too much, because once you give it away, getting it back is very, very difficult. Sure. But on the other hand, I want to support the district and do whatever we can to be, part of the solution and not a hindrance. So I'm okay with cutting out travel and conferences, especially for this next year in light of everything that's going on, and maybe even the subsequent year. Lori and I have been doing a lot of research as far as what can we do online that isn't going to cost us anything. So whether it means that she and I schedule a block of time to do, training via webinars in our office, as opposed to traveling somewhere for training and conferences, then so be it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. and also regarding advertisement, I know, there are still the problem areas like bus drivers, but it seems like a lot of strides have been made in hiring. So maybe we don't need to be spending that big amount on advertisement. And maybe that could be pared down a little bit in light of that the problem isn't as stark as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear what you're saying. You don't want to lose the money in case you do want it later. So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah. Martha?
That was sort of like the Merit Academy, where we were able to still attend and not travel. And so I'm sure that also saved the district. It was 3 of us. So I know that's possible, and that's a good way to save some money.
So what would you commissioners, what would you propose we cut on the advertisement? I mean, on the travel?
Well, it's cut 11%. I mean, if we look at the 6750, that's a pretty modest amount compared to 11,000. It's about, 40% less.
It was not, it was 997.
It's 97. Yeah, well, I'm looking at with assuming the 2% reduction. So yeah, I feel comfortable making it then in the green column than making it, maybe cutting by 15%, 15 or 18% rather than 11, just to bring it down somewhat. Because I can't imagine, Marty, you're going to be spending that much, even in a, the best of times, probably.
Well, if a miraculous recovery happens and all of a sudden, in the fall we're able to attend conferences, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go, but to be able to have that, if we should need a training, great. Or if we have to say, have a membership in order to attend some of these webinars that are being offered. I again, even though it's there, I don't necessarily feel like we need to spend it if we don't have to. And it would be my preference that in light of the district's budget and really the state budget, that we put a little caveat on there that all travel is on hold.
Well, we might not be traveling for a while either.
Right.
I mean, I know we're all getting really sick of screen meetings, but you may want to say, well, no conferences that require hotels and airfare. Maybe more day-long conferences. But I know, those trips to Disneyland or staying at what is the nice hotel we stayed at a few years ago in San Francisco? That, that was pretty pricey. So, that may be the caveat, that you would limit certain kinds of travel, but clearly the more expensive kind. That does, I mean, 11,000 still seems like a lot of money compared to 2 years ago was less than half that.
Right. And again, it was increased because I was new to the position. So there were a lot of training, and I needed Lori and I to attend these trainings together because there was so much that I brought, but I needed her to be on board with in order to move our department even forward. And so it was really important for me to have that available. But now, like I said, since we've had that opportunity, I feel like Lori and I have been able to implement a lot of changes and just different ways of doing this, the policies and procedures and our processes, that it really isn't that level isn't necessary.
Right. So my suggestion would be to try to pare that number down a little bit more.
So there's a proposed number in the yellow of 6,750.
Yeah.
That's at 39% cut. Is that what that means?
Yes.
So that would be a difference of $1,200, $1,200, correct?
Wait, Kathy, compared to what?
No, I guess I'm looking at the green.
Oh, the difference. Oh, okay.
Yeah, to the yellow.
Yeah.
And I think it's realistic to go to the yellow. The yellow as far as the column in the travel.
Yeah, that seems like a more realistic figure to me as well.
All right. Any other areas of concern or comment? Like I said, I'm a little apprehensive to reduce. I'm even a little apprehensive at the level that we have professional consulting in, that because that money is there, if we are required to hold a hearing, and given the new legislation with the administrative law judge and the expenses involved in that, I am really apprehensive to go. any lower, even with the increase, adding on the live scan. And then the other one that I talked about was advertising. I don't know if you guys want to.
Well, so what were you, I'm trying to remember what we were talking about as to the billboard. What did you feel, or was it something on the buses that didn't seem to be very effective?
The problem with the buses is that each bus costs $300 a month, and given the number of buses that are in Lake and Mendocino County, the visibility is so minimal that to me, the money is better spent in other ways, whether it's the billboard or on doing our postcards, printing material. I just feel like there's other ways that we can advertise that we're going to get a bigger bang for our buck than we're currently getting on MTA. And even we did Family Life magazine, but we were very careful as to when we did Family Life magazine, like the back to school edition, where you're going to get a lot more people looking at it than you would on a monthly basis.
So what if, I don't know what the figure would be if we cut if we cut it 25% instead of 11.
I could look at that. Let's see, hold on one second.
That would be quite a bit of money. That'd be a fourth. That'd be almost,
So it'd be
$6,000.
$25,000 is what it would be at.
it would be at what?
25,000?
25,000 on the green column.
On
From
the green column.
Yeah.
Down to 25,000, which is still doable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that was my point also. I think 33,600 is really high in these times. And like I said, it's not as dire a situation as it was before. I'd be comfortable with a cut like that. I mean, when I see that 33,600, I just kind of cringe a little bit. It does seem really high compared to everything else. It stands out a lot.
okay.
And where are you seeing that? Oh, I see. Okay.
So the
Yeah,
revised,
I'm going down the green column, but even the yellow, it's way more than except salaries. It's really high. So yeah, I like your suggestion, Kathy. That's 25% instead of 14.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Marty, are you also, maybe it's too soon to tell, but I'm wondering if numbers of applications are going up because of other employees losing their jobs in the private sector?
We have recently added Indeed to our job boards that we advertise on, and we have gotten a lot better response on Indeed. We posted the same positions on Indeed and EdJoin. EdJoin, we've gotten 4 applications. Indeed, we're up to, I think, 28
Wow.
applications. So, but we're kind of in this holding pattern. It's hard to really aggressively recruit when we can't hire right now. And obviously our first priority is our current employees when at all possible.
So is Nicole still with us?
I am.
So from the district's point of view, would it not be wise to make that kind of a cut to the advertisement? Because that's always been an important piece between the commission and the district.
I think you're on the right track, because I think, one, as Susan's kind of indicated, I think we're going to have more people wanting to work for us, and we're going to have jobs to offer them, most likely. I'm not trying to be an alarmist or anything, but as I stated earlier, we're kind of pausing before hiring anything and holding on to some positions right now before we even post them. So I think that the need for advertisement will definitely decrease. So I think you guys are on a good idea.
To cut it, you're saying, because I don't want things to, I guess what I'm afraid of is the district then is going to be saying, you need to advertise more when we've cut.
Yeah, I would hate for Marty to not be able to advertise like on Indeed, since that's getting such a great result. But I think the buses, the billboards, you know, those are things that may, I don't know. The billboard, I'm guessing, has probably been more effective than the buses, but those are things that we don't have to continue. And I think people know where we're at. And if we're on things like Indeed, we're going to get more people thinking about applying for us, because that's been one of the frustrations is people don't think about applying for a district sometimes if they're not a teacher. And so something like Indeed really gets us out there in a non-education job site for people who are looking to be a custodian or food service who might not otherwise think of applying for a school district. So I think the innovations that Marty has done will really help us accomplish more with less money.
Okay.
Marty, are you thinking of cutting out EdJoin? Because that's pretty expensive, isn't it?
Actually, EdJoin isn't terribly expensive. The district, actually, we don't pay to advertise on EdJoin. The district is has an account, but I haven't seen where it costs us anything, except if we want to attend their conferences and utilize some of the other programs and different things that they offer, then that's where costs come in. But as far as advertising on EdJoin, there really isn't.
I think the only cost that has come up, and I think your department has borne this cost, is when advertising something specific for a management position. Other than that, the district pays for that subscription because you recruit teachers and principals, but it doesn't cost us anything more to have, I don't believe it does, to have other positions posted there. It's only when we advertise our management positions in the periodical that they have.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and we're also talking about the revamping of the examination process and that hiring piece, and that might make it more inviting for people to come in and apply and work for us.
Okay, so do we need a motion, Kathy, or is this just for discussion?
No, I believe we need to make a motion as to the changes. And that means we adopt the budget at this point.
Or we send Marty back to the drawing board?
She's got to have it adopted, but we would have to have a special meeting then to vote on what the changes are.
Oh,
It needs to be adopted so that it can go to the county, and then by the end of June.
so if we change the advertisement budget item, then that needs to be a special meeting?
No, I'm just saying, I think we can we can talk about the two changes on this budget that she's proposed.
So you could adopt the budget in the green column with a zero change, with the change to travel and conference and the change to advertisements.
Right.
Oh,
That's
and then
what
we
I'm
can
saying.
vote on it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, do you want to propose a final number in that, or it doesn't matter? I mean, we just say what the changes are, and then later on it'll all be on done in the math will be done.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion that reflects us adopting the budget that's in the green column with the change that we discussed to changing the advertisement, reducing it by 25%. And that would be 25% of the
Advertisement.
and reducing the travel and conference down to, I think we set an amount.
Well,
This-
using the 6750.
39%.
Yeah, we
Right,
said reducing that.
6,750.
Yeah. So it would be 6,750 for, in the green column for transportation, and then the green, and then the figure Marty gave us was 25 something, right? For the advertisement, if we cut it 25%?
Correct, 25,200.
Okay,
Well, I'm sorry,
25,200.
you cut off 25% would bring it down to 25,000?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we don't have a percentage for the difference. Oh, that's 11%. No, what's the difference in percentage between 11,000 and 6,750? We don't necessarily need that for a motion. We can just use.
no, you have the amount,
Yeah, okay. So can I go ahead and make a motion then?
please, yes.
So I move to approve the budget that Marty has suggested with the following changes: to change the proposed budget for travel / conference / training to 6,050, and to change advertisement to 25,000.
Okay, those aren't the exact numbers.
They're not?
No,
Oh.
it's 6,750 and 25,200.
Oh,
those are the
25,200?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll correct my motion then.
Okay, so let's just, yeah, we haven't voted, so you can,
Okay, so my corrected motion is that we adopt the budget Marty has suggested with the following exceptions: travel / conference / training would be brought down to 6,750, and advertisement would be brought down to 25,200.
is that right, Marty?
22,500, yes.
Oh, 500. I thought you clicked off and I thought you said 500. All right, I'm not going to make the motion stands with the last correction that advertisement would be lowered to 25,500.
And that's the correct amount, right?
22,500,
Oh,
yes.
okay. All right, so we're gonna have to change it to that.
You need me to make the motion all over again?
I'm trying to remember if we have to vote it down, and then I think you could amend it.
Susan amended it, it's fine, and then you just need a second.
We're adopting it with those modifications.
Okay,
Okay.
but it's still
Then I
not
will
the right
second the
figure.
motion.
She said 25.5 is what I heard, not 22.5.
25.5, I corrected it.
22,
It's 22.5.
22.5.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything on. Okay, I could have sworn I heard 25.5. 20. Okay, I apologize. Okay, one final correction. It's the same motion, but we lowered the category of advertisement from 30. I can't even see this anymore. I've written on it so much. 30. What was it? 33,000.
600.
Oh, okay. 33,600 lowered to 25,000. Wait,
No,
No,
22,500.
22,500.
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
Do I have
Yeah.
a second to that motion?
If you understood it.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second adopting the budget that's been proposed in the green column by Marty with the changes of travel, conference, training becoming $6,750 And
Yeah.
the change to advertisement being 22,500. All in favor
Yes.
signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is our regular action and discussion items. And the first one is 10.1. It's, well, we already did that. We just adopted the
Yeah.
budget. So
Yeah.
10.2 is
Yeah.
changes to the rule 408.4, the character of the examination. And we had backup in our packet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to discussion.
so I was a little confused about this. Whoops. Oh, I lost my. Sorry, I'm using two computers and I keep losing the other page. Wait, well, hold that thought because I have to look at my screen that I lost. All these
Maybe, would
problems.
it be helpful if Marty summarizes what it says?
No, I mean, unless somebody, I don't need it personally, if somebody else wants it.
So what we're discussing is it's the written exam that's in question. For starting employees coming into the district.
Yes. Part of the issue is some of the language in our current PC rules was redundant, and some of it was really irrelevant because it's included in education code. And there is nothing in education code that requires a written exam. It tells you if you're going to issue a written exam, how that must take place, but it doesn't require a written exam. So council provided us with recommended changes under the elimination of one piece, but then eliminating just a little bit of language in 408.8, and then the addition of a little bit of language just for clarification purposes in 408.8-1.
Right.
And the reason that council recommended leaving this in here this way is because in education code, if a collective bargaining agreement has the same language as our PC rules, any classified employee covered by that bargaining agreement, the bargaining agreement takes precedence. So there's ed code in there that says our rules cannot conflict with the bargaining agreement. But we also have employees that are not covered by the bargaining agreement, such as classified management, classified confidential. So some of these rules are applicable to them. And so we just wanted to be clear, concise, and stay within ed code. And this is what council recommends. The part that's in blue is her recommended language, and the parts in red she said were redundant and really just should be eliminated.
Well, I finally got it back on my screen. I'm just wondering what I was looking for, and I'm mindful of what you just said, Marty, that if it's in the collective bargaining agreement or the ed code takes care of the PC rules, but looking at our rules, they still to me look really confusing because nowhere do I see that a written exam is not necessarily required or helpful. So maybe we need to include something from the ed code to make more sense of this, because reading our regs, I wouldn't understand that we're not requiring written exams anymore.
By eliminating, let's see. Hold on a moment here.
Well, the red part just ended up in the blue part on 408.8.
Right.
So that's, right, that's being taken out.
Well, you took it out, but then you just put it back in the next section.
Well, what we're eliminating.
Oh, I see. You took out at least 2
Four.
independent parts. I see.
Because
Mhm.
0.4 is the part that addresses written exams for entry level positions, and it's not required by ed code.
Okay.
And by adding the piece down into the other one, it makes it clear that if we should do or require, if you should require a written exam, so in those positions that we have a task that we have people
Mhm.
complete, this is how it needs to be done.
But we still have, wait, 408.4. 408.4 though will be the same. That's not being changed, is it?
It's being eliminated. 408.4, and I should have put a line through it, but I thought I had
Yeah,
put it.
that's what's confusing to me.
I apologize.
Oh. Okay, if that's eliminated, it would make more sense, but it looks like the written test is still required.
So the paragraph right above where all the text is either redded or blued, it
Yeah.
says that the director of the Personnel Commission recommends elimination of PC Rule 408.4 and the following changes to 408.8 and 408.8-1.
Okay, so
Oh, okay.
408.4 is
Yeah.
gone.
It's gone.
Oh, okay, that answers
Yeah.
the question. Okay. All right, well, that was the missing piece for me.
Okay. Martha, any questions?
No, I'm okay with that too.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay. And what's the, Nicole, the district's position on this?
I don't see Nicole. She may have dropped.
Okay, so then we need to vote on this, correct? Or is this the first?
I think this is the first.
Is this our first or our second one? This is our first, I believe.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
just says
just the
discussion.
Okay, so then you'll bring this back in June?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so let's move on to our discussion regarding staffing needs and recruitment.
As I indicated earlier, and Nicole's back. Do you want to ask Nicole your question?
No, I can.
Sorry,
talk
my
to her.
PC died.
I can talk to her about it later.
Okay.
Well, no, maybe the commissioners, what I asked you, Nicole, is on the proposed changes to the examination, the 408, 402.8. I wanted to know how the district felt about those changes.
I will be honest, I haven't gone over this with cabinet yet.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Then we'll just move on. Again,
the union is probably happy about it, right?
Yeah, it sounded like she was in favor of it.
Yeah.
Are you asking
Yeah.
if I'm in favor of it? I'm sorry, I've got a really bad connection.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
we heard
the
your
union
answer.
was.
Yeah, we heard your answer.
Lisa Rantala, are you there?
No, Lisa left
Yeah.
a while ago.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well, last
staffing
month
needs,
she did mention that they were in favor of not having the written test.
Yes, we
Right.
are. What I would like to review is the precise language. I feel like that's one thing I should have reviewed with cabinet prior to this meeting, and I didn't. But we are very much in favor of moving this in this direction.
okay,
And
okay, thank you.
CSEA?
Yes, we're in favor of that also.
Oh,
I
she's
think
back.
we're all in
Oh,
agreement
she's back.
on moving forward with getting rid of the tests as we know them to be today and trying to make them more suitable. So we've all been talking about it and we're all working to come to some sort of agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So moving on to 10.3, staffing needs and recruitment.
So wrapping up the 2019-20 school year, you have 3 pages of positions that we filled. There's a handful that are kind of grayed out because we placed them on hold for various reasons, or filled them with limited term positions, especially our para SDs because of the change in the program going to the Mendocino County Office of Ed. We wanted to make sure that any para SDs, that positions that were staying at the district, that we had positions for those that wanted to stay. So we've been very careful working with HR to make sure that we have these positions. The next page is, I started the 2021 vacancies. And as you see, I let it off with our bus drivers who, because of COVID, have had some issues with completing their required training, but they are still working on it. And then we have, again, the para SD positions that are on hold right now. But we are still recruiting in hopes that once we come back that we will be able to hire. And we know that we will still need substitutes. So we're trying to make sure that we follow through on that. The next page is a copy of the Indeed postings that shows the 5 or 6 different postings and how many applicants we've received just since the middle of April. I mean, I just started this April 21st, and as you can see, there's a substantial number of applicants compared to EdJoin, where we have 5. So people who are looking for classified positions are more apt to go to Indeed and as opposed to EdJoin. They're just not as well trained as teachers and administrators are to look on EdJoin for positions. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, we're modernizing. So can we move on?
Yeah, I didn't know if you had more you were going to say about that.
No, that was my only observation.
Okay.
So
Martha?
it seems like a great move.
We do what we can, that's for sure. I'm sure Marty's.
Yeah, I'm sure
right.
Marty's on it and Lori are on it.
Yeah. Right.
Lori's been a tremendous help being in the office and trying to follow up with our applicants to make sure that, you know, we have, when and if we can hire, that we have everything we need to move them through quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. I know you go in every day to check on everything.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, Lori was muted.
Oh,
Oh, well, thank you, Lori.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Saw Lori
Okay.
this morning.
Pardon me? Oh, yeah. That was nice seeing you, Martha. Good luck.
Okay, open items. We are going to be going into closed session. So are there any closed session item comments?
No,
Was that a no?
no, I have received no comments.
Okay,
Hmm.
all right. So then we will be going into closed session, and when we're done, we'll report out. So I believe at this part of the meeting, we are no longer